Hey, on my Travel Ones podcast, I'm looking to have Grant Chang. How are you today, Grant?
Hi, Pete. I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Excellent. Appreciate you being on with me. You're a project manager at, I'm going to say it probably wrong, Acellent?
Acellent.
Acellent. Oh, okay, I got the ace part there. Acellent.
Yes.
What exactly do you do for Acellent? It says you're a project manager or product manager.
Good question. Well, first, I want to say you're really cool, but you already know that. I really appreciate you for having me on. So just some background on Acellent. We're a family business. We're doctors, but for structures. Our mission is to be a worldwide provider of sensor-based technology. And our vision is to enable industrial IoT solutions for structural assets anytime, anywhere. So that can range from aircraft, commercial aircraft, military rotorcraft, suspension bridges, heavy machinery, and folks in the energy sector.
So, but easy stuff. No,
I'm
kidding.
A little. You can say that. Our technology actually was, the ideas initiated from Stanford University labs. So we're in Silicon Valley, so our proximity to Stanford has kind of helped with the collaboration and really, making the so-called smart layer sensors to be turned into a tangible product from ideas. So my mom actually, the CEO, Irene, she started the company with my father, who is Professor Foucault Chang at Stanford. So these two, power couple, lovebirds, started Acellent to really, take the idea of the smart layer sensors and really make it a tangible product for folks in the aerospace industry, to heavy machinery, to wind turbines. So it's really cool stuff.
So let me ask you this question: when you were growing up and going through college and doing all that, were you expected to be an engineer, or how did that work out for you?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I was, born and raised in Silicon Valley, specifically Stanford, Palo Alto. I wanted to stay in the Valley because I was always drawn and intrigued by technology, like gadgets. Like my parents, for Christmas, they would always get the kids. And I have two older siblings. They're both, cutthroat lawyers. So there's a lot of headaches going on in the house every day.
Sure.
Because of that. But for Christmas, my parents will always get me the latest gadgets, whether that's the iPhone or even, a fidget, spinner, things like that. Just cool things. So I kind of was always drawn to technology in a way. And on top of that, my parents they're engineers, so that also had a profound impact on me.
Yeah.
And it was kind of an easy choice for me not to go to Stanford, even though as I mentioned, my dad teaches there. My sister Sam, she graduated from there, I believe in 2014. And I also grew up hanging out with a lot of the engineering deans. And it was really easy for me not to go there simply because I didn't get in. So yeah, that was kind of a disaster. But I chose Santa Clara actually because I didn't really want to pack a suitcase. I still wanted to be close to family, and I didn't want to escape the tech world, even if it's fast-paced, super technological. I always loved that fast-paced environment. So my story of coming to Acellent is, I think you know this. I worked at Apple as a cloud engineer, doing a lot of localization research with AWS, Amazon Web Services, and a lot of folks like that. But I came to Acellent from Apple because my mom was like, what we do at Acellent is way cooler, and by that, she really meant sensor data is going to be huge. It really is the next big tsunami wave after social media data. And then she told me, she was like, you'll see, and there's actually a Wall Street Journal article that says oil is no longer the most valuable resource, it's data. And really from that point on, I think I was a junior in college. I was still kind of really deciding what I wanted to do and to be. I was convinced, especially by my mom's hyper recruiting skills, that it's time for me to jump aboard to the Acellent train after my Apple stint.
Well, I know you were a sensor intern for Acellent, right?
Yes.
So what did you have to do that made you travel up and down the coast?
So I guess my parents were just hey, our sensors are already pretty well developed at this stage. It's already a commercialized product used by a lot of folks in all sorts of industries and verticals. I think it's time for you to really just hang out and mingle and bond with your, I guess, PhD counterparts. And that was actually a big honor for me, for my parents to say that.
Yeah.
Because I was just in college, and they're like, yeah, go. You have the capability to make friends with these PhDs. And I was like, I do. And they're like, yeah, of course you do. Whatever you put your mind to, you can accomplish that. So I take it as a really fun, exciting opportunity to just, travel up and down. I actually I'm down in your neck of the woods in Los Angeles, because aerospace is actually, it has a really large presence in Los Angeles, whether that's, like engine testing or, like Air Force bases, folks like that, especially.
Well, you got Boeing, you got, McDonald, what is it? You got a couple of big guys down here near the LAX area. Yeah,
exactly. And what I did at that internship, I vividly remember is, I think it was Safran. They're like an engine manufacturer, and I still have that contact with the person today. Like I'm doing project management, more so sales, and this guy is still one of a loyal customer, ranging from many years back. So it was really fun, that internship that time.
Well, I think that's and I told my daughters the same thing when they're in college and they're interns. Is it's not so much the work that you get done; it's the people you're going to meet.
Yeah.
Because
exactly.
And you meet somebody that's low on the totem pole like you at the same, but if you stay in touch with them over time, all of a sudden they're a big dog, and if you stay in touch with them, you're friends with a big dog now.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's really what my parents wanted me to experience on my own, and I think they were successful in me accomplishing that.
Well, you got good parents.
Yeah.
So far.
Yeah. They're okay.
They're all right. That's what my kids say.
Yeah. They
You're okay for an old guy. I'm like, whatever. Whatever. Yeah. What do you expect, as a younger guy that's, a couple years out of college, how important is business travel to you, or is it just about the job? Meaning, do you look at a job or a future with Acellent and go, I want to do that because it allows me to travel, or are you more of an office desk guy?
Yeah, that's a really, really good question. And so our chairman of the board is Professor Chang at Stanford. So he's actually one of my idols and really go-to for anything technological. So he started IWSHM, which is International Workshop on Structural Health Monitoring, and it's held at Stanford every other year. So Acellent actually won a big award, the most practical SHM solution for civil mechanical systems in 2019 during the most recent conference. So that's actually another story. But every other year, Professor Chang's counterpart hosts EWSHM, which is the European Workshop on Structural Health Monitoring, and that occurs in selected European cities. That includes like Manchester, Palermo, Italy.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
So IWSHM and EWSHM began more than 3-4 decades ago. So my mom, who's, she's obviously awesome, really the prime leader in CEM, like corporate executive management. So she would take the whole family, which again, like includes my 2 older siblings, around the world for travel. So we actually traveled to a lot of the selected destinations that I mentioned in Europe, as well as domestically here in the States. Really just to like see culture and then kind of, be enhanced in the travel experience. So because of me traveling at a really young age, like travel really became part of my identity and really like a hobby of mine. So I guess to answer your question, like, yes, like travel, the opportunities like at Acellent when it comes to travel really was a big reason why I joined the company, not just for international travel, but also like domestic. Like for instance, like one cool place I last traveled was Shreveport, which is like near West Monroe in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Where we're working with like a paper roller manufacturer. And like, let me tell you, Pete, like they have the best crawfish.
Yeah, the food down there
like crawfish. Crazy. Yeah, like it was like the best crawfish I ever had. And the people there were so friendly. Like their accents are unforgettable. It was just overall amazing.
Pretty thick, yeah.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I think if I was at, still at my former like employer at Apple or even Google, I don't think I would have had the chances to go to these amazing places and meet these amazing people, from all walks of life. Like they all had different stories to share. So I think travel is really important when it comes to like a company, like the opportunities. And it's also important, I think, to, if you're new to the workplace, it's important to kind of vouch for yourself and take the initiative to, tag along with like VPs or anyone senior to accompany them on the trips and kind of like be their right hand, so to speak.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
Well, when you travel, like when you went to Shreveport, I'm trying to think the right way to say this. When you travel for work, are you just going there for work, or do you Google and see what's around there? Good restaurants, museums to do things?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Pete, like we have to tell our bosses and the CEOs that we're going there just for work. But behind closed doors, we obviously Google like the top 10 landmarks.
Sure.
I'm kind of like a history buff, so I really like checking out landmarks or going to restaurants. They don't have to be like the best, because I think best is really subjective. But restaurants where there's a lot of history involved. So yeah, like we try to carve out some time. We try to be as productive as possible when it comes to the work, the business, meetings, like make those relationships great. But another good thing is I realized a lot of the folks that we meet there for business, they actually treat us really well and take us out to a lot of these great restaurants, or they recommend us to go on tours or hikes, things like that. So I think it's all like a team effort here.
Well, make sure to take them up on that, because like for me, I'm an independent contractor, so I have to pay for all my own restaurants and all that. So enjoy the freebies when you get them. Yeah,
will do. Duly noted.
What do you like or dislike about business travel? I mean, I know you like going out and seeing all the people. What parts do you dislike, I guess?
Yeah, that's a good. You're asking all these great questions. You're kind of on a roll here. I think. I think it's just maybe and I know I'm young too, so I think people are going to give me like a bunch of crap. But travel is kind of like a tiring experience. Like there's, not to mention like jet lag, but just travel in general kind of wears you out.
Absolutely.
In some ways. Yeah, so I'll just kind of say the physical aspect of it. That's pretty much all I can think of. And it's really, there's kind of some, like, you have to work out some logistics of, getting to point A to point B smoothly, like things like that. But other than that, I think you can see that as a good thing too, where, not knowing how to get to your destination can be like a fun, adventure or a fun mission for you to try to do. Even if it's like a simple thing like getting to your hotel, it's still fun to see like which direction is fastest, which route could be. You don't have to go like the fastest route, but you can also go like the most scenic route. So there's still some fun in those difficulties, but pretty much just like the how travel hogs your energy. That's kind of what I don't like about it.
Well, yeah, the jet lag seems to be the big killer for most people.
Yeah.
But, next time you travel, try and imagine not using your phone.
Oh, that would be pretty wild. But the danger with that is like, what if we don't know where we're going to end up? Like, we already don't know where we're going to be.
That's all part of it, buddy.
Well, Pete, but like, if we don't know where we are, then if we don't have our phone for like the next half hour, that's even more dangerous.
Yeah. How are you going to get there?
Yeah. Maybe you can like accompany me on my next trip.
Because like when I first started traveling for work, there was no cell phones. So it was, you bought a map, you called a travel agent to book your flights, and they would do all the research because they had the computers that had the airlines on it, because you didn't have access to it. So you would have to call somebody to book a flight, and then you'd get there and you'd have to call the 1-800-HERTZ line to get a rental car, and you didn't get to look at it. You didn't,
Wow. So dude, that's unheard of. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, you would get to Shreveport. First thing you would have to do in the airport is buy a map.
Yeah.
And then figure out where you're going. There was no, there's an accident over here. You might want to go this way. It was like, oh shit, there's an accident. I'm going to be late now.
Yeah.
So.
And I really do respect you for that, because there's actually, I think we were in Shreveport, but we had to drive to West Monroe, which was I think 2.5 hour drive. And little did we know there was actually an airport in West Monroe, 15 minutes from the destination we're supposed to be at. So even with technology, there's still some things that we slipped up on, So for you to go just head in, kind of blindfolded into a new uncharted territory with no technology, I think it's really impressive. Do you still know how to read maps?
Oh yeah, I actually made a point of teaching both my daughters how to read maps, just for that just in case category.
Yeah, they might not thank you now, but I think they're going to come back and thank you soon enough.
Yeah, you only need to know one time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like you get stuck and there's something going on, and that's I think when I talk to the guys my age that have been traveling for 30 years plus, we were some of the musicians I've talked to, they'd land in Berlin, Germany, and then they'd have gigs around Europe, and there was no phone, so you would show up, and they would give you the address. You'd look it up on the map when you got there, and then you drive to the hotel, and hopefully it's because there's no pre-check-ins and all that. You would just show up, and they go, "Oh, we don't have any room." You're like, "Oh, son of a bitch." So
wow,
it's a lot easier. That's where I think technology. I mean, even with what Acellent's doing, putting sensors on airplanes is for structural cracks. That's phenomenal. I mean,
thanks. Yeah.
And if you can get it into cars and do all that kind of thing, I mean, that's technology at its best, right there.
Yeah. That means a lot. Yeah, we're for cars, we're looking into the EV autonomous, and we're still developing there's some configuration customization for our integrated system when it comes to different industries. But overall, it's a 90-95% standardized system. It can be directly applied.
Sure.
But for autonomous vehicles, there's still some 5% customization for monitoring the degradation of lithium-ion batteries, like Tesla and Porsche. But I think when these so-called autonomous leaders like Tesla, they're not quite level 4 autonomous yet.
Yeah.
Our development of our sensor technologies specifically for the auto autonomous manufacturers, I think it's all in parallel to when they're going to get more into the market.
Well, the other question I wanted to ask you was how did the lockdown and the COVID quarantine affect your business?
Yeah, so
because I know Tesla was shut down, so
yeah, exactly. We had to. I mean, I think all businesses, they had to pivot in one form or another when the pandemic unfortunately hit us. But for Acellent, we're actually very, very lucky. We have a lot of partners that ranges from as I mentioned to you, the government to the armed forces, Army, Navy to we call them FSRDCs, which is federally funded research and design centers.
Okay.
That have been very loyal, and we have been loyal to them as well when it comes to collaboration and projects that will hopefully be beneficial to both parties. But yeah, again, for us, we had to take travel down a couple notches. But one good thing is we're starting to write a lot of proposals for the government, as the government is very interested. They put out a lot of solicitations for.
Sure.
They think it's a good opportunity, a prime time to hunt for new technologies as well. So we're feeling we're kind of busy. The whole team is kind of busy writing solicitations for these so-called proposals that the government is handing out, and that can range from digital twins to autonomous vehicles to I think we just won a really big award from the DOT, the Department of Transportation, for technology like ours. So we're still keeping busy here, but we did have to pivot from the occasional face-to-face sales meetings to writing proposals for looking at other territories like Apex, for instance, that they're starting to, have increased funds for new technologies.
Because I know we had talked earlier about you're trying to get in with some of the private airlines, and obviously they took a massive hit being shut down for 3 months. So I mean that's got to affect their revenue stream. So do they have money to put into a new software or a new program? Yeah,
the good thing about that is we had a really exciting collaboration with one of the major airliners here in the United States, and we actually did a lot of system and sensor installation prior to this whole pandemic. So we got on board the aircraft then, but it has had a really big, really tremendous impact on like current activities.
Yeah, I mean it's got to. I mean, I don't know of too many businesses that haven't been affected by it.
Yeah,
and I don't think we've gone through everything that's going to come. I mean, I don't think anybody knows the exact extent of how bad or how far-reaching it's going to be.
Yeah,
everyone's talking about now, and I can tell you for like my industry in the apparel industry, we canceled all of our holiday deliveries, all of our shipments. So because all my stores were taking their spring goods, putting them in the summer goods in the fall, and now they're taking their fall goods into holiday. So our holiday line completely got canceled. So, we're not going to see as much going into the holiday season, which is typically our best season for apparel sales and footwear sales. So.
Wait, so can you give me advice on like the workaround solutions that you're doing to mitigate these type of things?
I'm trying to, for me in particular, I'm trying to increase my online presence and sales. Because I tell you, online sales, I have 2 online accounts, and one is almost tripled from where they were year to date last year, and the other one's doubled.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So people still had money to spend while we weren't going anywhere for 3 months, i.e. that's why Amazon and everybody else was doing so phenomenally well during the lockdown. But that I think online, and now that you've created shopping habits now. Over the last 3 months, people are now shopping more and more online. So now that they've created that habit, are people going to shop less and less at a brick and mortar, i.e. the malls, the strip malls, and then the one-offs, the mom and pops?
Yeah.
I think there'll always be a need, and there'll always be people that, if you want to buy a pair of cowboy boots, you're going to want to try them on first. And people are just going to be that way. So there'll always be a need, but there'll be less. I think the good stores will stay around and the bad stores won't. I think that goes with anything. I.e. J.C. Penney's or Sears going out of business, or filing bankruptcy for J. Crew, and it's no longer I'm just going to open up some stores and people are going to come shop. You're going to have good product. You're going to have to have good marketing. You're going to have to have it all.
Wait, J. Crew's gone? I love J. Crew.
Yeah, they filed bankruptcy.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah,
that's tough.
And I don't think the COVID lockdown was why they did it, but it might have been the nail in the coffin. I mean, I don't think in 3 months' time you were doing phenomenally well. Now you're just not. But if you weren't doing that well, or just kind of struggling trying to figure out how you were going to pivot, that might have just slammed the door. So
yeah.
I said, I don't think we've seen. I know, at least in my industry, we haven't even started to begin, because a lot of my store owners that I've talked to already are trying to figure out, hey, do I just shut this crap down and go get a regular job, or am I going to be able to salvage this? And that's what they're contemplating right now.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree with your point where I think a lot of folks still need to like try on things and have that face-to-face like customer like experience, because I know like a lot of like my friends, they're actually like returning a bunch of things from Amazon simply because it was not to scale or just wasn't the right style they're looking for. So I do think there should be like a balance between the two.
Well, and I think what I recommend and what I tell my stores is you should have both. I mean, there's, the whole reason I started my podcast was I listened to a motivational guy who said, I don't care if you're 40 or 50, why are you letting all the 20-year-olds think they're cool and come up with all the great ideas? If you have the experience behind what you want to talk about, then you can still do it. Just because you're 40 or 50 or 60 or 70 doesn't mean you can't start all over again. So
Pete, the main point for me to be on this podcast is for you to put me in my place. Is that correct?
It's the what?
It's for you to put me in my place as like a young so-called millennial.
Oh no, I'm trying to learn from you because I wanted to learn literally why a young guy. I could talk to my daughters, and I do, but they're still talking to their dad, so they might not tell me everything, or know what I mean.
Do you want to know?
Well, like I said, when you're going for the job at Acellent, was the traveling part of it? And are you conscious? Like when I was younger, well, for one, we didn't have Google, so there was no way for us to look up the top 10 places of Shreveport. You went there and maybe you talked to the concierge at the hotel or whatever, but that was it. Then you would drive around and go, oh shit, there's a museum there. Oh, look at that. Oh, that restaurant looks good. Or now you got Yelp reviews and TripAdvisor and all the other things that you can take advantage of and know that maybe that museum's not worth going to, or maybe if you only have one place to go to, that's the place you should go to. And hopefully, I hope young people are taking advantage of that. Because
a good reminder.
Well, I think a lot of younger people, like you said, it's like, oh, I'm here for work and I want my boss to know I'm having fun. It's like, if you get your work done, you can still drive around. That's
exactly.
That's the one thing I enjoy about being an independent contractor now. Is as long as I produce my numbers, if I want to take an extra day to drive around, West Virginia, then so be it, because it's my money, it's my time, and the company.
But you got the best of both worlds.
Well, I think so, but that's some people wouldn't like being an independent contractor because there's no salary involved. So if I'm not selling goods like I haven't for the last 3 months, you don't make any money. And if you're a musician and you get most of your money from playing gigs, well, if you're not touring because they're not allowing you to gather, you're not making money.
Yeah.
And some of the athletes I've talked to, the beach volleyball players and all that, they're not making a lot of money on sponsorships. So they were kind of hoping for their season, which they've already missed a couple of the events because they obviously they couldn't gather. So that's the negative. I mean, but I think everyone's got to find. Some people are salary people. Some people need that security of, I need to make this much money, and that way I know what I have going on, and some people don't. So that's really, that's always the balance.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's really like whatever your style is, and however you operate.
Well, and when I was younger and my kids were in school, having steady income was more important than it is now. Because I don't have two kids on my payroll.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saving for colleges anymore.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I can go, and now I have time to talk on a podcast because I'm not going to soccer camps and soccer practices and lacrosse camps and lacrosse practices and birthday parties and school functions and parent teacher night, and I'm not doing any of that anymore.
Yeah. How cool is that, right?
It's pretty cool.
Yeah. You're loving every minute of
it. Yes. I thoroughly enjoyed being a parent and going through all that stuff. And I'm thoroughly enjoying having them out of the house.
Yeah. Obviously, they still go to you for advice, all that. Like, I'm going to you for advice. So your job is not fully done, so to speak.
No, and I think that was at least for me, that was kind of the podcast mindset, was how do I reach more people? I reached my two daughters, and then I coached sports teams as they were growing up.
Right.
And so I was able to affect the lives of those 20 kids that I was coaching or whatever, 15 to 20 kids. How do you reach more people? Well, and then my buddy said, you should start a podcast. And I was like,
Were you reluctant at first?
Oh, completely. I didn't know truly know what a podcast was. I didn't know how to record I'd never heard my own voice. I'd never set up a website. I wasn't that present on social media. So yeah, everything was brand new. So I spent a lot of time on YouTube.
That's like really hard to believe because you're like a natural from what I hear and see.
Well, that's 110 episodes later, interviews later, and getting more comfortable. But yeah, I still haven't listened to my first episode. I won't listen back to it. It just spooks me. I wasn't able to edit it. I didn't know how to record. It was my third time trying to talk to my buddy who was my first guest. So, but just like anything, and I think that's the mentality I try, especially people my age who are like, "Oh, why are you doing that?" And I'm like, "Why not? No, I don't know how to do that." I go, "You didn't know how to drive a car, and you learned." There's just like anything.
Yeah.
So, and now you got YouTube, man. I learned how to program my website via YouTube. Learn how to edit audio via YouTube. There's everything. Not everything, but a lot of things you can learn on YouTube if you want to.
Yeah, dude, I feel like you're like better than a lot of us, to be honest, at these things.
I appreciate that. And
you know what they should have? I feel like for schools, like they should teach you like basic things, like even like uploading a simple video to YouTube or changing a tire or learning how to do taxes or something. I feel like they should all bring that back to school. I think these are all like essential needs, or maybe not. Essential needs, but also like just kind of like good fulfilling things that you should know. Be able to do.
I actually had that talk with both of my daughters. It was like,
yeah,
because they graduated college, and I never graduated college. I barely got through a year and a half, 2 years of junior college, and quit because I was making more money in sales. And so both my daughters graduated college, and I'm still showing them how to do stuff. And I'm like, God,
yeah,
I think colleges are great for many things, and I think networking is hopefully the biggest. I know you started your fraternity, and hopefully you stay in touch with those guys because you're going to remember those guys and relationships you had with them more than you will, your econ 101 class. Yeah,
all I remember is getting a BS in economics. Like typically you get like a BA, and my parents were so proud of me for getting a bachelor's of science, like a BS in econ. And they were so proud, and that's kind of really to your point, that's really all I remember is them being happy that I got a BS in economics.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I was just happy both my kids graduated. I didn't care what they graduated in.
Yeah.
I really didn't, because not everybody is going to get a career and a livelihood in the thing they graduated with, the major. You might use part of it, but hopefully it's there to teach you how to study, how to finish something, how to have a goal and set it and accomplish it. And then obviously the networking, the people you meet. Unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer where you need specific learned expertise and knowledge, or an engineer where you need to learn specifics. That's going to, architect, that type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I don't know. I think a lot of kids graduate college now and are like, shit, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's just like a phase. Like everyone goes at their own speeds. They all need time. Like a lot of my friends, like they took like gap years, and they took like another gap year after the gap year, and then they finally decided to go to law school, and now they're killing it as like a federal prosecutor, for instance. So yeah, everyone goes at their own speed and rate, and more power to them for being confident in really being sure of themselves that, hey, like I need time to really, find myself even after college. I feel like finding myself is so like cliche, like people think it's a waste of time, but I think it's really important to, be confident in who you are. And if you need time, then you take all the time you need.
Hey, the one thing I told my youngest daughter when she graduated, we were sitting at lunch, and she had just graduated. She was waiting for her first real job, paying job, because she had interned a whole bunch through college, and she had some incredible experiences interning. And so we're sitting around looking, and I go, Allie, look, see all these people in this? I go, no one's got it figured out. The people she worked for were literally worth hundreds of millions of dollars, and they still had problems in their life. So it wasn't just about the money, and it wasn't just about the fame. It wasn't just about work. If you're 20s, you're going, oh, no one's going to give me a shot because I don't have an experience. Well, when you're 50 or 60, you're like, no one's going to give me a shot because I'm too old. And if you're 30, you're trying to grind up to get to that next level. And if you're 40, you're either at that level going, God, is that it? Or you're going, oh my God, I didn't make it to that level yet. What am I doing wrong? So everyone's always trying to figure it out. And then you throw kids into the mix, that's a whole different storyline. So just be happy with where you're at. Everyone gets there.
Good advice. Thank you. I'm taking all these mental notes right now as we speak. So.
Well, like I said, I think the interesting part for like my podcast is going to be in 2 or 3 years. If you and I have another conversation and you're 3 years further along in your career, and maybe you're like, I decided I didn't want to work, at my mom's company, and I started this other thing, and here's why, and here's what I'm doing. You know what I mean? It's just interesting to see how people's lives change.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty committed to where I am now. I just what lies ahead. Like I just don't know what my next chapter is, but one thing I do know for certain is the foundation my parents helped support after their tiresome years of raising us is going to be worth it. I think I'm pretty set right now, but after I'm probably going to come back to you. I'm probably going to text you after this asking for more advice, but I feel like in 2 years, I'm probably going to knock on your door and ask for, hey, like Pete, what am I going to do after? So I'm going to, take this podcast to heart and hopefully use this as guidance to help find whatever destination I have to go to after this.
Well, and you're further along than a lot of people your age.
No.
Oh,
really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'll give you a story. One of the first guys I interviewed on my show was Landon Turner, and he's probably 28 now. I think he was 26, 27 at the time. And he had played professional football. He was playing at the time for the Carolina Panthers. And he had just played 2 years for the New Orleans Saints. He got picked up by the Carolina. Then last year he tried out with the Seattle Seahawks and didn't make the final cut. But at 26, he's like, he was, you kind of realize at that point, you got 4 to 6 years maybe of a good pro career. And then what do you do? And what he said was, he was jealous of all of his friends that he graduated with because they had 2 or 3 or 4 years of job experience ahead of him. And, because unless he was going to be a football coach, playing professional football doesn't necessarily give you a lot of skills for a job. And he goes, my friends that graduated think it's cool that I'm playing for the Saints, and I'm thinking it's cool that you got 2 years of experience already, so people won't say, "Oh, you don't have any experience." So
so that answers his question. Like you're really comparing apples and oranges here. Yeah. So like everyone's on their own journey, and I'm happy that both parties could acknowledge how awesome each one is. I just wish that people themselves can see that,
No.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it out there.
Yeah. This is why you're hosting a podcast.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You're doing great. I watched like almost all of your podcasts and you're just killing it.
I'm trying. I appreciate that.
You're succeeding. Yeah.
There's times when you go, gosh, what else could I be doing? Because the one thing a lot of people don't understand is like we record this talk, it's an hour long. Then I've got to put together, it doesn't end for me there. Then I've got to edit that hour. Then I've got to get everything ready to post up. Then I got to put it on a couple different websites, and it's extra work. So,
but you're talented. This is what you're naturally good at. So you're great.
I appreciate that, buddy.
Yeah.
And what's the best way for my listeners to see what you got going on? Follow you? Do you got social media? Do you got anything you want me to send them over to the Acellent website, or?
Yeah, I mean, you can pass on our Acellent website. That would be great.
Cool.
Check us out.
Can't hurt.
Through LinkedIn as well. For sure. Yeah. Thanks, Pete.
Appreciate the time, and looking forward to staying in touch with you.
Yeah. Same. Likewise. Have a good rest of your day.
All right. You too, Grant. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. See you. Bye.
Bye-bye.